Gaming is a hobby that has only become more popular over the decades. It started in the late 50s, but only really took flight during the 70s with old-fashioned arcade games like Pong. Yeah, that old thing. The gaming industry picked up speed fast. Like, real fast. Cult followings, home consoles, the 70s birthed video game culture, and it seeped into a golden age from 78 to 82. Then came Space Invaders, Asteroids, and Pac-Man. If you don't recognize the names of any of these games, please prepare yourself. You're about to hear a lot of new terminology. And the industry simply never slowed down. It's been on a constant incline ever since, to the point where in a 2015 report titled Essential Facts About the Computer and Video Game Industry, it was believed that 51% of American households owned a game console. And in reality, even those without consoles are probably gamers in some form. Seriously, who doesn't have some kind of game on their phone nowadays? But it seems that while games themselves are never not evolving, the culture has labelled a lot of older games as retro, and many of the community aren't as eager to follow along with their beloved industry. Older games seem to simply be cooler, not just among older generations but younger gamers too. For example, in November of 2015, Nintendo announced that they are going to be re-releasing the first ever games of the Pokemon franchise for the updated handheld console, the Nintendo 3DS. These re-release titles sold 1.5 million copies. Not nearly as much as the original 10.4 million copies sold when the game was first released, but not bad for a game that was literally already out. This got me thinking, who's really more of a fan of the older generation of games? Is it the older generation of people, or the younger gamers of modern day, and why? The Heart of Gaming is an arcade based in Croydon, London, that is personally local to me. One of its most notable features is that it boasts both modern day generation consoles as well as classic arcade machines and everything in between. I interviewed some loyal customers to find out what it is they love about their respective generation of gaming, be it the latest console or the retro titles.
I prefer newer titles because I feel like I play them more at home, so like here I'm able to play them with other people. Like, yeah, that's the main reason I come here. Newer titles, yeah.
I prefer older titles because I grew up on them. I grew up on like Sonic, Crash, Spyro, platformers, story-based games. I prefer stories. They're less common now, so yeah.
I prefer older titles for their sort of novelty. When it comes to newer titles, I think some games and developers take themselves too seriously, but the newer titles, there's more creativity gone into them, there's a better quality and just look, so I'm kind of split on each side, but if I had to say one, it's probably older.
To be honest with you, I mean, I'm an older player, so, you know, obviously I've got my favourites, the ones I enjoyed when I was younger, still to this day in some way kind of stick around me, but at the end of the day, the focus has to be pushing newer titles for newer gamers. So yeah, I have my own favourites, very partial to the old Street Fighters, the old King of Fighters, etc. But, you know, it's all about sort of moving forward with what we do here, and, you know, I like to keep that as my mindset.
It has to be Pokemon hands down, I think. Like, always growing up with it. Because my mom's Japanese, so like when we went over there, I'd be like kind of so I'm buying a little, and it's just always been with me. Just love the kind of just escaping away from everyday life. So yeah, has to be good.
I'd say it's probably between Sonic 3 and Street Fighter the Third Strike.
Wow. I don't know if you ask anybody at or about my age that question, if they're really going to choose one game above all else, but I mean, I got numbers of different retro titles that were popular at certain points in my life. Super Mario 1, Super Mario 3, Super Mario 4, you know, the Street Fighter 2 franchise, King of Fighters franchise. I don't really have one game that I can choose above all others. I could give you a list of the top 20, but that would take a while.
I feel it's because for a lot of people, it sort of has that sort of novelty nostalgia, but with a lot of sort of retro vibes. I don't know, maybe it's just because we're not used to that sort of style.
I think they're different. Like, obviously, the graphics and stuff have all got a lot better now, and being able to see the old kind of style, it's different and it works. It works well.
Nice. Cool. I think because at that time, gaming was something new, so the audience was still kind of small. So as obviously time's gone on, now you have like AAA games. That retro game that had that small audience, I think that's why it's such a niche market, because those people still stick with the retro games, even, you know, like decades on.
Simplicity. You know, the whole idea with retro titles is you would plug them in, you switch your console on, push start, bang, you're in the game. They're very uncomplicated, and I think for a lot of us, you know, when we're sort of feeling the strife in society, you know, we tend to kind of look to places and times where life was simpler and things were happier and easier, and seeing a visual representation of that brings those feelings to the surface. You know, nostalgia is a very powerful thing.
Okay, so I think now obviously with like AAA titles, the concentration is a lot on the graphics and things like that. But obviously back in the day, they didn't have like the power in the consoles and that. So obviously they had to rely more on the storyline and the actual experience. So I think not being so concerned on the graphics, I think, and focusing more on the story and the plot and things like that, and the character development. Yeah.
Speed is king,
Oh, absolutely, but they have to want to. You know, there's that old phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And, you know, at the end of the day, it is a big ask to, you know, ask today's players to push aside what everyone, all their friends and all the internet are playing, to try something with simpler graphics, more down-to-earth gameplay, and probably something that's going to be a lot more sort of challenging and frustrating in different ways. But there's definitely, you can definitely from you know, with any passion, hobby or niche, when you get into it, learning about the history of it, going back to its sort of grassroots, is a great thing, and definitely something you can benefit from. Having said that, not everybody has that mindset. There are, you know, a lot of video gamers are just very casual, which is fine, and they just kind of want to play, you know, what's fun at the time. It really depends on your dedication to gaming as to, you know, how you treat it, where you find the fun, and how far back you may want to go.
The fact that, like, it's a community of people, it doesn't really matter what your gender. I mean, if you're a girl gamer, I pray for you, but still, like, it doesn't really matter what your gender is, people get along unless you're friended. That's a minor detail, League of Legends, but, you know.
Oh, winning, I guess. I like winning. Yeah.
I mean, as I guess I would call myself a child of the arcade, I like the fact that it brings people together, it creates groups, it you know, you have a laugh, you have great times. I'm a big fan of the social, interactive aspect of it, which is, you know, which arguably really is the big contributing factor to why I do the heart of gaming, why I continue to do it, is because seeing people have fun, you know, or maybe get a little competitive, it's a really great vibe, you know. And I think that whilst there is that to a certain extent in today's gaming, it really is, you know, for example, fighting games, a big spectator sport in the 90s, mostly done on the street in arcades, etc. Different now, but the core element of it, I mean, at least the competitive side of it, is still there.
I think the future of gaming will move forward to a point where it will be like it will focus more on putting you in the game than letting you experience vicariously through the main character. So it will turn you into the main character to a point where you can run on a treadmill to make the main character run. You can punch with your actual fists, and the VR will be the thing that made it all happen.
Have you seen Ready Player One?
I'll just stop that
Basically
there.
that.
I'd say becoming more immersive in game titles. Maybe not to the level of Ready Player One and how that's sort of portrayed, but just becoming more enveloped into games. Maybe like MMORPGs implementing that sort of style like in Sword Art Online. Without the horrible second season.
I mean, I definitely think that, esports is going to be here for the long haul. Hopefully we'll see more and more varied games entering it. I must admit my faith in VR isn't as strong as maybe it is for other people, simply because we live in an era of convenience, and having the space and room for a VR setup, or dedicating the time to packing it away, setting it up, I don't think is something that really most players can be bothered for. It's a very personal experience as well. VR, it came around once before in the early 90s, and it was interesting, it was okay. It never made it to the home market. We had it in the arcades. Nintendo tried their Virtual Boy, and none of that really lasted very long. It's an experience, but I think it's one that really is better suited to the high street rather than the home. But I guess we'll see how that turns out.
And video games themselves are being taken more seriously as a whole by the entire world. Esports is essentially competitive gaming to the scale of leagues just like traditional sports like the NBA. Huge gaming conventions are bigger and better every year, with the largest gaming tournaments boasting over $20 million prize pools. The casual community is thriving just as much too, with online gamers being praised like mainstream performers and comedians. Entire companies have managed to kickstart their way to fame simply by using video games as a platform to make a TV show-like format, like Rooster Teeth's Red vs. Blue or Rocket Jump's video game High School, which are both featured on the mainstream system Netflix, and by the way, are both amazing series that you should definitely check out. Some mainstream media outlets are even choosing to feature online gaming personalities on their own TV shows, as well as using their platforms for themselves, such as YouTube. The International Olympic Committee even held a meeting recognizing the growing popularity of esports, but came to the conclusion that there are certain restrictions that must be adhered to for it to be truly recognized as an Olympic sport.
We have to draw a very clear red line in this respect, and the red line would be e-games.
That being the violence of most competitive video games, and that there is a lack of a global sanctioning body for esports to continue further. In other words, most esports feature video games that aren't family friendly enough for the sportsmanship aura the Olympics prides itself on. But allow yourself to dream just for a moment that you saw Daigo's perfect parry on the Olympic stage. So perhaps old school gaming is looked at through a biased, nostalgic lens simply because it represents a simpler time when gaming was more niche and personal, rather than being popularized to the point of near mainstream media. Or perhaps the novelty of these now rare titles lies in the fact that they are rare titles. Or maybe it's that because they were so niche, they were simply harder and a lot less welcoming to wider audiences, leading to a competitive feeling of actually getting better at the game and beating other skilled players, explaining why esports are often dominated by classic games or their sequels. Whatever the case, I don't see the growth of the gaming industry slowing down anytime soon. And in conclusion, it seems that generations of the industry mingle indiscriminately, with younger audiences enjoying the sequels of older games, keeping those memories thriving, and older audiences still going back and sharing the passion that sparked the golden age in the first place. And I believe that's the real heart of gaming, those feelings that lie within the sense of community that is unlike any other. Thank you.